Hi guys, welcome back to the garage. So today we got some troubleshooting going on. We've made a bunch of trips to the track and Bob here is apparently got a cold. He coughs going down the track for no apparent reason. And I've exhausted all the normal stuff, you know, the spark plugs, the plug gap, the heat ranges, the air fuel being too rich, too much methanol, not enough methanol, so on and so forth. And it's none of those things. I've brought the air fuel ratio in the last video from off the charts rich, where it's actually flatlined, and brought it up as much as 12.8 to 1 at 20 pounds of boost. And obviously I'm not going to leave it like that. That's a little too lean for my taste. I've taken methanol away, I've done all that stuff, and nothing has stopped it. Now I would say for sure that the overly rich air fuel ratio was making it worse, but it's not the root cause. So I think that I have it figured out, and I know I've said that, if not on camera, off camera, 400 or 500 times, maybe, I don't know. Let's go look in the car. I'm gonna show you what I found. Okay guys, so I got the good camera propped up in the car, so hopefully we can catch some detail on this and you can kind of see where I'm coming from. So I think I mentioned earlier in the data log, and if I didn't, I'll go ahead and explain it again. I had smoothing turned on in the data log, so it takes those jagged lines that you see in the data log and it blends the highs and the lows, and you get some, you know, smoother looking lines because you smoothed it. Well, unbeknownst to me, that was covering up a problem. Whenever the car backfires, it goes to 0 RPM and then it jumps right back up to 6,500, 7,000, wherever, you know, close to wherever it was before it backfired. That problem is not, it obviously the engine is not going to 0 RPMs, but it is dropping to some point. And that is caused by the ECU resetting, losing power, losing ground, or something along those lines. So that's the reason we are in here looking at this stuff, and I'm going to show you what I found. Okay, so I've already fixed the problem that I think that I had, but I'm going to show you what I did. So this is the ARC switch panel, and they're notorious for having problems. Either with the ribbon cable, with the relays, maybe it's the setup, or I don't really know. I've just seen a lot of complaints, if you will, on the internet. So this is the relay that cranks the engine. This is the relay that turns the computer on, and so on and so forth. So our focus, at least for this point, is this particular relay. And the reason why I say this relay, and the reason why I come to this board, is because I started poking around on this thing with an ohm meter, and I found out that there was no continuity between the back of this relay board and the cage or the body of the car or anything. And the reason why that matters is because this relay board is it has to be grounded for it to work. So you say, well, how is it working now then? Well, it's funny you should ask, because I was about to tell you. Right now it's mounted to a piece of carbon, and I think you can probably see some of that in the video. This is a big piece of carbon fiber from over here to all the way to over here. Carbon fiber is mildly conductive. So if I were to take this test light and touch it on metal, it lights up. It's powered on the same thing that relay board is powered on. Now if you'll notice right here, it doesn't light up, and actually I saw it blink there just then. So I'm dragging it across that surface, and it's having a hard time getting the ground there, right? Okay, I'm gonna push a little harder. There you can see it blinking, and then I'm gonna put it up here on this spot that's clean, and it lights up instantly. Okay, so the reason why I'm telling you all that is because this relay board being mounted to the carbon is not grounded good enough. And if I ground it right here, you see that thing lighting up? That is that's on the carbon. Okay, but if I go an inch away or a quarter inch away, it doesn't light up until I actually dig into it and when I push on it. And you can see, there you go, it's lighting up there. So what I think is happening is this relay board is partially grounded through the carbon where the rivets go through it. Now the problem with that is that that's not good enough. This wire right here that I've added, there's actually a ground spade on the side of that relay board that is there for that very reason. If you mount the relay board to something that's non-conductive, you have to ground it. So all of these problems could very well be self-induced. When I started this, I could touch this cage right here and not get any continuity and no resistance as measured with the ohm meter. Same thing goes for the cage down here. And as you can, I think you can see that in the shot right there. That test light is lit up now. I could poke this thing all over the place and not get a test light to light up and not get any continuity and obviously no resistance. So hopefully we're on the right track. Okay, part 2 of this problem is right here. That's odd, I didn't realize that would be grounded right there. Anyways, part 2 of this problem is this particular circuit right here. Come on, focus, there you go. This particular circuit has several wires going to it. So the problem with all of those wires going to that one circuit is that the ECU itself may be kind of bothered by that, if you will. None of them are none of them are high voltage or high amperage draw, I should say. But nonetheless, they are taking some of the demand of that circuit away from the ECU. So enough talking. I don't even know where I was going with that, other than the fact that the ECU may be having a problem with these other things on the circuit. The part B of that is, at one point when I first got the car running, I had a problem where the cam sync didn't work correctly, and all I did was grab these and move them around a little bit. And what I think was happening is some of this insulation right here was preventing a good connection through that screw. So we're going to isolate some of those connections, put them on another relay that's triggered by the same switch, and just kind of get the load off of that particular relay and away from the ECU. And hopefully that is going to take care of some of our problem. Okay, we're probably approaching 10 minutes of blabbing on these problems, but I want to show you one more thing that I changed around that may or may not make a difference. And earlier I think I said no resistance, and it's actually infinite resistance or no connection. But anyways, nonetheless, what I also did is I added that relay up there, and that relay more or less just took some of the load off of this circuit and put it on this relay. So this circuit, when I turn this on, it turns that relay on, and the load is split between the two. So the only thing now that's on that switch number 2 on the board up there is anything to do with the ECU, or actually only the ECU, the crank sensor, and the cam position sensor. Just those 3 things. Very low load, if you will. So having said all that, I am about to put the dash back in the car, and we're actually going to the track. So if you made it this far, sit tight, because we are about to get loaded up and go test this out and see how it works. I feel pretty good about it, but at the same time I'm like, it just can't be that easy, or that difficult, however you want to look at it. We're going to make passes. so we made the first pass and the car actually went down the track and it didn't miss and it didn't bang and didn't do nothing because I thought the ground wires and stuff fixed it that I had showed you earlier in the video. Now if you look at the switch up here, I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear it or not or see it in the camera, but I'm flickering this ribbon cable back here in the back. Okay, so I got my hand behind the ribbon cable and I'm pushing on the ribbon cable and you can see the light get dim. But if you listen, you'll hear the fuel pump cycle, which means the ECU is shutting off. So if you listen close, you'll hear the ECU, the fuel pump cycle, and turn back on, off and on, when I move this. There goes one. That's just me moving the ribbon cable around. There's 2, 3. So I would say, I think it's safe to say that is a real problem. But we're gonna put some zip ties on it and see if we can make that ribbon cable stay a little tighter. And after that, this thing's coming out of the car. Okay guys, to summarize what you saw in the video, the first thing that we did was we added some grounds to the relay panel because it had such poor continuity and had no good ground connection to the body of the car and so on. And once we did that, the car went down the track like it never had a problem and everything was good, right? So I added some fuel to it because remember in the last video I had leaned it out to the point where I didn't feel good about it anymore and I wanted to put some more fuel back in it, and even though it was still banging. So I put the fuel in it. Second pass, the car starts banging and popping and carrying on and all that good stuff. And so now we know, or we suspect, that there's some other problem. And your first inclination is to think that it's because you put fuel in it. And it's not, because we still see that ECU dipping down to 0 RPMs and the resetting. So my buddy Chris is in the car and he touches the ribbon cable and you see the lights on the switch panel get bright and dim. And so now we start focusing on the ribbon cable. And I got in the car and I put my finger on the back of the plug that goes into where the switches are at. And all I did was just barely lay my finger on it like this. And the ignition switch was on at this point and it reset the ignition. And if you watch close in that clip, you can see the reflection of the blue light on the roll cage. That's the wideband turning off and on because it's on the same switch. So now we have it figured out. The ribbon cable apparently is faulty and it's causing us some problems. So today, being Sunday, the day after that, we're going to put some toggle switches in it and go to the racetrack, and the toggle switches are going to isolate that circuit completely. Get it off of the relay panel. It's only going to have a power and a ground, and that is it. We're going to test that out. If it works, we're going to rewire the car. If it doesn't work, we're going to rewire the car. That's pretty easy right there. So, I think we got it figured out now. We're going to see. Okay guys, thanks a million for stopping by and checking out the video. I'm glad to say that we have finally found some kind of definitive answer or definitive problem, I guess you could say. So having said all that, the fix and all that good stuff, we're going to put it in the next video. We're going to the track today again. We're going to test it out. So thanks everybody for stopping by. I certainly do appreciate it. Be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, hit the notification icon, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks guys.